Yo, what's up, people? Um, I'm back with another video, finally. I kind of got hooked on this game. I was playing it a bunch, and I'm kind of at the point where I know I like it enough, and I have quite a bit to talk about in terms of the game. So I want to make some videos on it. This video is just kind of gonna be kind of a little bit of everything. What I like about the game, the build I'm using, the gear, um, and then just also playing the game. So I don't have a ton of time, but I'm quite far in the game. I haven't seen any videos or watched any, or like looked up like how long the story is or anything like that. But I got the demo the day before this game came out, because luckily I saw an ad for the game the day before it came out. So I got that demo and I played it, and I was like, holy crap! Like this game is awesome. So the next day the game came out, and I pre-ordered it like an hour or two before, so I could get all the bonuses. And I have 30 hours, 32 hours in the game, which counts the demo, so not really a ton of time, but this is where I'm at. So I'm at like this third little map thing, and right now I think I'm doing, yeah, so I'm finishing this up. So I'm quite far, I think. I don't know how long the story goes. I might be near the end. I kind of hope not, but I might be. And yeah. So let's just get straight into it with that all being said. So I think the thing that I like the most about this game is the fact that it combines aspects of games that I really like that I haven't played before, like in a combined state. So I really like Elden Ring and like Souls-like games, um, and I really like ARPG games, like like the top-down games where you get loot and make builds and stuff. And this game is basically the culmination of those two in a sense, and I think that is awesome. I haven't played any game like this before. They probably exist, but basically, um, your items all have these attributes on them. They have affixes, like stamina damage increase, receive damage decrease, all those things. All of your pieces have this, and they go up in rarity, and then can have more and better affixes on them, which is awesome. There's also the set bonuses, so you can get sets. And then there's the skill tree, so you can actually go into a build. Now, it's obviously not anything like an ARPG would be, where it's like the skill constellation, the tree forest, but it's definitely a skill tree nonetheless. And I think that it is awesome. You can have different play styles, even amongst like the same kind of weapon. Like you can play a greatsword in multiple different ways by just having different skills, or just prioritizing different things, like in your gear sets, right? Like maybe you don't do charge attack stuff and you do swift attack stuff, for example, right? So that's what I love about this game. That's what kind of got me hooked, is like those two kind of elements, like combining. I think it's really sick. So with that being said, and why I like the game, let's get into the build and kind of like how it's working for me and what it's really. Alright, so here I am in the training grounds, and let me just kind of show what this build does, and what the kind of gameplay of it is, like what the play style of it is. So we're mainly trying to brink guard and use those brink guards to go into armor breakers, so we can poke in between the boss's combos, in between the boss's attacks. When the boss isn't being really aggressive and we have the time, we're using our Savage Momentums with our Mortal Blows, which looks like this. And we're weaving in our abilities as well. We really want to have our buffs up as often as possible. These buffs are Phantom Knight's Veil, Inner Fury, and Warcry. Phantom Knight's Veil lets our charge attacks emit pulsing shockwaves to do damage. Inner Fury allows us to charge our attacks faster. This works for skills as well. And Warcry is the defensive buffs, poise, and reduce damage taken. We have our damage skills, damage skill, which is Giant Hunt. I'm still experimenting with other skills, but for right now I'm using Giant Hunt. And then Counter Strike is your souped up version of a Brink Guard when they have really telegraphed attacks. We have ways of maintaining our Fury through Spirit through items, as well as passive nodes. So that's how we're able to use these abilities really often. And they make this guy aggressive and show what's actually going on. messed up there. Dang. Alright, and then when they're stunned, get a few attacks off. Oh, well, if I would have had more time, I'll just, here, I'll make him passive, and then I'll talk about that actually. So when a boss is staggered, typically you're going to do something like this. And then you're going to do the brutal attack. So you charge your left click, charge your right click, and then you use your damaging skill. So for me it's Giant Hunt. Sometimes you can even weave in another attack there. But that's what it looks like. I'll show it on a boss. Alrighty, so I will not spawn a minion. This is just a random boss. I don't know if I can lock on. As you can see, I don't really use dodge as much. I'm kind of just all about the guarding. You can see the stamina bar getting drained. Oh, I guarded that bad. Oh, I suck at these attacks. I'm actually plagued right now. I kind of forgot about that. I don't want to waste a thing though. You can just see the damage. So I'm going to do my combo here. I'm just going to do it with this because I don't know if I have much time. And yep, there it is. So obviously I'm over leveled for that, but that's just an example of what this build kind of looks like on a boss. I didn't even keep all my buffs up, but you know, if you're doing something like hard, you would obviously keep all your buffs up, and you can see the energy there was just flowing. I could have been using even more abilities, right? So that's a boss. Let's get into the actual build and what's going on. When I first started playing this game, I was a spear user. I used this up until about a little bit past where the demo would have left you off at. I really like the idea of counterattacking and doing like a lot of stamina damage, which basically is like breaking the enemy's poise so that you can do heavy attacks on them, like finisher type attacks. It's like staggering, like stunning the boss basically. I really like the idea of doing that and like exploiting that mechanic. And with Rod Smite and Assault, with Brink guarding, that's kind of what you would do. But in Elden Ring, and just in other games in general, I really like using like the colossal weapons. I like using the big weapons, and this game has a greatsword, and the greatsword can actually do a similar thing, so it just kind of made sense. You use, like, at least with my build, I use a lot of charge attacks. I do like brink guarding, and then into counter attacks, like really fast attacks. But it's mostly charge attacks, yeah, countering, and then abilities. I have a bunch of abilities on here, and like ways to maintain my fury, my energy. It's called fury, right? Spirit. To maintain my spirit. That's like the energy to use your abilities. So now I use the greatsword, and pretty much, yeah, that's all I've used since I switched because I find it amazing. So with that kind of backstory out of the way, let me get into the build and kind of like where you would go, how you would navigate these different trees here. Okay, so here I am in the training grounds, and I was going to go super in depth with the skills, but I'm just going to show my tree and what everything is doing, and I'll let you guys decide the order that you want to take the skills in, because explaining every single thing in the order is just going to get more complicated than it needs to be, because really this process isn't super complicated. And I don't even need to really show you guys a build for you to be able to make something good yourself. This is just kind of like a framework and a cool way of playing this weapon that I found. And I don't want to make it anything more than that and anything too complicated that it doesn't need to be. So this is my skill tree, and I'll go over what everything is doing for me. So I'll start off with Savage Momentum. I think, you know, if you are going to take some kind of order advice, I would start by getting this. This allows you to charge your swift attacks. So normally a swift attack looks like this. It's kind of like your basic attack chain of fast-ish attacks. This allows us to charge it like this. And that's really good because we are doing a charge attack build, and it allows it to benefit from charge attack damage increases. And with Overwhelm, any charge attack that we perform after using this will charge faster, which is really nice. That just means more DPS. And then we take Mortal Blow, and this allows us to perform a special potent blow after using that attack, or any swift attack in general. With this, I can use this Mortal Blow after a dodge attack, so I can go like this, and then I can do this. Or I can do this, and do this, right? That's what Mortal Blow looks like once you get Mortal Blow Bloodshed. It turns into this spin, and it hits twice. It's really good at clearing mobs. It has a lot of range. It does a lot of damage. It's just a really good attack. And this is kind of what we end up using a lot of the time to just do damage when there's an opening. It's kind of a combination of, you know, you Savage Momentum, and then you go right into this. Or you like dodge, hit them with this, and then boom, right? It's just a lot of damage. And whenever you have openings, that's typically what you're doing, if not using abilities, which I'll get into in a bit. So I have Manifest Power. This makes our potent blows have increased range. This affects Mortal Blow, so Mortal Blow goes farther. This is really good for if the enemy's attacks kind of displace them, or just hitting bigger groups of adds. I took Giant Hunt. I actually didn't start using this skill until a little bit ago, which is like crazy, because this skill is very powerful, especially once you get the ability to leap off the enemy, which gives it multiple hits before the big slam. This attack can do a lot of damage, and it's actually one of the better skills for doing damage, especially for this weapon. So yeah, I have Giant Hunt. I have the ability to do the leap, which gives it those multiple hits beforehand. I'll actually just show this ability off on this guy right here. So control left click, and yeah, you can see it does a bunch of hits, does a bunch of damage. If you're facing like the dudes that you summon, and they're like the mimic kind of enemies, it's really good at breaking their guard. Like if they just keep blocking and you want to like drain their stamina to actually be able to hit them, it's really good at doing that because of the multiple hits. Did I talk about Manifest Power? I have Manifest Power so that my abilities have more, my Mortal Blow has more range. I think I already talked about that though. I have Spirit Boost. This makes it so that when we break an enemy's stance by using a charged attack, we gain a small amount of spirit for a few seconds. You could probably actually skip going this point. I just like it for when you're doing mobs and stuff, when you're clearing adds, because those guys can get freaking annoying, and sometimes you just want to spam abilities on them, and this gives you the spirit, well, this helps you get the spirit you would want to do so. Then I have Phantom Knight's Veil. This attack is really good. It does a decent amount of damage, especially when you... Is it by charging it? I believe it's by charging it. Yeah. If you charge it and you have enough spirit to do so, which consumes one additional, so if you have 2, it'll look like this. It does quite a bit of damage, and it makes it so that when you charge your attacks, you see I'm pulsing that red energy out. That does damage. It does It does stamina damage. It's just overall really nice. It's just giving you more damage when you're already doing damage, and the attack itself does damage. I have Heat of Battle. This makes it so that while I'm attacking, I get increased poise and take less damage. Poise just means I'm less likely to get staggered out of doing my attack. So if I'm in the middle of doing this and something hits me, it has a chance, depending on like how powerful the attack is, to like stun me out of my hit, and my hit won't go off. The more poise I have, the less likely that is to happen, and obviously taking less damage means they just don't hit as hard while I'm attacking, which is really nice because we're charge attacking. We're spending a lot of time in animations. We're obviously mitigating that quite a bit, but still nonetheless you are in animations. We have Indomitable. This makes it so that when you take damage while attacking, you deal increased damage with the attack that you were using, and you gain additional spirit back after hitting them. The amount of spirit you get increases proportional to the damage you took, basically. I have Breakthrough here. Breakthrough is kind of an experiment. I want to see how good this skill actually is when I max it out, and see if it's worth using, because ultimately this skill for me is competing with Giant Hunt. I want to see which one's better, because this is like this for me is like my damage skill. So like all of these skills are doing damage, like the Knight's Veil, the Giant Hunt, this, like all these are doing damage, but these are specifically for damage. I'm not getting any buffs from them, so they better do, good damage. And there's no reason to use two damage only skills in my opinion, so I just want to see which one's better and then just use that one. So I'm trying Breakthrough. Next up, I went Warcry. Warcry is really good. If you get hit while you are doing it, you don't block all of the damage, but you take a significantly reduced amount of damage. And then for a brief period of time, well, for actually a pretty significant amount of time, you take decreased damage from any hits. And on top of that, you actually get increased poise as well. So more poise and less damage taken. That stacks obviously with Heat of Battle, so you can get a bunch of poise. You're not likely to get staggered out of attacks, and you take a lot less damage. I have Heavy Pressure. This makes it so that charged attacks that you use after a charged attack have less charge time. This obviously is really good. Anything I'm doing that has a charge time will make my other attacks charge faster. I have the Breakthrough Rising to make Breakthrough better. It lets Breakthrough be charged, which allows it to do more damage, but it uses one more spirit. I have Inner Fury. This skill is really good. You call forth energy, blah blah blah. It does damage basically, and you get an effect that further increases charging speed. So you can see, our charging speed can get pretty low. And then you can get Inner Fury Swift, which allows you to charge it, which increases the range of it and the duration of the buff you get. So it looks like this. I'll charge it here. And then we just do charge attacks faster. And this is what it looks like when it's hitting something. Yeah, you can see it hits a bunch of times. If enemies, here, I'll just get my shirt back up. But enemies really hate being hit by this, especially like those mimic guys. It will like demolish their stamina bar if they're blocking when this hits them, because it hits so many times and it does decent damage per hit too. It's just a really good skill to do damage with while also getting a buff. Like if you can keep the enemy in the radius, which isn't that hard, yeah, they take quite a bit of damage. I have the Patience Augment for Warcry. This makes it so that the poise we get from that is even further increased. So we get poise from this, poise from the skill itself, and then this increases that. And then Determination, which increases the damage decrease effect. So we get more damage decrease on top of the damage decrease from this. So you can see, right, if Warcry is active and we're attacking, we have a lot of poise and we're taking a lot less damage. In this overrun tree, I didn't really want to go anything because I don't really want to spend my time dodging around. I want to spend my time brink guarding and attacking and using abilities, right? My brink guard is my defense, not my dodging. I did go extreme dodge though, which I don't really care about, but I wanted Seething Blood. Um, Basically, I'll just talk about it now. I have solid stance from the guard tree. This makes it so that when you do a brink, it's worded wrong, but once you do a brink guard for 5 seconds, you get increased stamina recovery rate. It does not it does not stack with the effects of extreme dodge, but it's really nice to get stamina back, and this increases that stamina recovery rate. It's really good to have stamina recovery in your build when you're doing this build, because just look at my stamina bar. You can see charge attacks use quite a bit of stamina, and if you're going to be spamming them a lot, you're going to need that much more stamina. And mind you, I have quite a bit of stamina, so what you just saw, you're like, if you're just starting out, you're going to drain way more than that. After that, I have the guard tree. So we have Avenger. This makes it so that when you do a brink guard, the enemy actually takes damage. I'll show you what a brink guard looks like by making this guy aggressive. A brink guard is just blocking an attack right before it hits you. In some games that might be called parrying, but it looks like this. So I block right before he hits me, it flashes red, and this lets me do that mortal blow that I was talking about. So I can also just block his attack normally and do a mortal blow, but you can see it's slower. If I actually brink guard, then I get to do that faster version of it, and it's just overall better. And he'll take damage when I brink guard as well. And make him defensive so he stops trying to hurt me. And go to my skill tree. So yeah, then I have Armor Breaker. I actually didn't talk about that beforehand, but that's what I was doing when I was brink guarding. I would brink guard, and then I was doing those red fast slashing attacks. That's what this is. This is a really good skill because it allows you to attack. It allows you to be aggressive while being defensive, basically. So a lot of bosses, or just enemies in general, they have like hit chains, like combos, right? They might like let's say their attack is like boom, 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 or something like that, right? There's downtimes between their attacks. If you get really used to and really like familiar with their like timing, with their sequence of their attacks, you can actually weave in armor breakers between attacks and still brink guard the next hit. So you could like block armor breaker, right? And you could just keep doing that throughout their entire combo, and you still do damage to them while being defensive, right? You're not always going to be able to do this because sometimes their attacks are going to come out like a flurry, and you're just going to have to be defensive, but you can use this very often, and it's a way to squeeze damage in. I have defense stamina, so this isn't extremely useful when you're brink guarding because brink guards already don't use that much stamina. But if you're ever, if you ever don't brink guard and you just do a normal guard, because you're not going to brink guard every single time, this will decrease that stamina cost, and it decreases the stamina cost of brink guards even further. So it's just good to have. Then I have defense spirit. This makes it so that when we brink guard, we get a lot more spirit than we otherwise would. So brink guarding gives you spirit back, as does brink dodging, I think. And this just makes that brink guard give even more. I have counter strike. I don't actually find myself using this skill all that much, but I think as I get better and better at the game, I will use it more. Counter-Strike is basically a souped up guard. So instead of just guarding by pressing and holding shift, or whatever button it is, you can use this ability, and it looks like this. So you kind of have to time it, and you have to press it not at if you want to brink guard with it. You don't time it exactly how you would a normal guard. You actually want to kind of do it early because you can see it has like this wind up, and you want to guard like when your sword's up. I'm not entirely used to the timing, but it's really good on those like telegraphed attacks, like attacks that have like the wind ups and you can predict when they're gonna hit and you can do it beforehand. It's really good on those attacks. Then I have solid stance. This is what I was talking about before. So when we brink guard, we get that increased stamina recovery rate, helps us sustain our stamina. I have counter strike chance. This is when we successfully brink guard with counter strike, we can follow it up with a second use, so there's less downtime between us being able to use this. As I said, I don't use this skill too much, but I assume that in time I will use it a lot more, and this allows it to be a lot better. And then this lets you chain counter strike off of normal attacks and just like your other attacks basically, so you can use it more often. And then we get into what I don't have points in, as well as the common. So I don't have points into here. This is a skill, and I have yet to try it. So like we'll see. Maybe it will be really good once I try it. You can charge it. Right now I'm just using Giant Hunt as my damage skill. And I'm trying to get breakthrough to here to see how good breakthrough is, and I'm gonna like compare all of these, and then I'll see which one's the best, and then use that one. I mean, I don't have anything into overrun because I'm not really doing dodge attack builds, but you could definitely incorporate this into your, like into this kind of build, and it would still work. Now let's go into the commentary. So before I go into here, I do want to point out that there is like a spoiler in here. Because there's a tree that does not unlock right away, and you won't see it from the start, but you will see it like once you get farther into the game. So, if you don't want to see it, like skip ahead. But here it is, and I'll just talk about it right now. So what I'm talking about is the Phantom form. Um, you get the ability to transform into this Blade Phantom. Well, you merge with the Blade Phantom, your little dude, and then you get like more powers. I just went into this so that I can counterattack while in the Phantom form, because nobody likes, those burst attacks. I have Phantom Attack Chain, which allows us to attack with these spears, and I got the finishing blow for that. And I went Phantom Attack Charge. This gives us a charge attack, which is really good for our build. This attack does a poop ton of damage once you get the ability to charge it right here. I want to get the duration and the increase to damage. It really sucks that you have to go through Death's Denial to get that though, because this makes it so that when you would die, you use your Phantom form, and sometimes you just want to wipe. Like sometimes you just want to die and not use your form, so I kind of don't want to get it for that reason. Um, I have counterattack, obviously. I don't see why you wouldn't have counterattack. You can actually like block and negate burst attacks with this. I increase the damage and I increase the timing window. Obviously, like I would max these things out when you can. I have just the base javelin up to this point. You would benefit from obviously upgrading your javelin. Like you can charge it, which is really good. Um, Undead won't respawn. Like these are good things. I just didn't see the need to upgrade this. The only thing I would maybe get is this, just for quality of life. The other things I spec'd into I find way more useful. I have Brutal Attack Reap. This is a very good node. When you do a Brutal Attack on an enemy, and I think this means from the front, you get health back for doing so. This just helps you sustain. It's really useful in the early game. It's really useful when you're like going through the missions and you're killing the mobs and stuff. I have Brutal Attack Absorb. This gives us more Phantom form gauge when we do those brutal attacks. I didn't go into Reflection at all. This might be a really powerful mechanic, and I wouldn't know, but I'd prefer to just brink guard the enemy's attack and then do my counter attacks and not use Reflection. So I don't use Reflection. I have Berserk Spirit, using a lot of abilities, so getting a lot of Spirit is very, very useful. It's like pretty much like one of the most important things that we're doing. And then I have Indomitable Spirit, so we get even more Spirit when we bring Guard, more than we're already getting. Now let's get into the items. So now we're into the items. I'm not at the highest tier of items, I'm at Uniques. But I have a decent idea of what items I want to use, and actually while I'm talking about this, I'm going to exit the training grounds because there's items that I'm not using that I want to talk about because I see them being very good, and I acknowledge that my items might not be best in slot. I know that they're probably actually not. So, I'll go to this guy. Oh, that's right, I need to be in their dimension to talk to him, to see him. But basically, the build, what you really want is things with confront, like set bonus confront. That means you're 1v1ing something, so like bosses. Charge attack damage, things like that. So I'll just go over what I'm using, and then I'll go over options and things that I'm looking at trying out. So I'm using the Lost Mage's greatsword because it's a part of the Defector set. You get this a little bit into the game, like a decent ways into the game. This set's really good because when you brink guard, you get spirit, even more spirit from it, and every time you hit a charged attack, you get even more spirit from it. This is just a no-brainer. This allows us to accumulate a lot of spirit, and that's really useful when we're trying to use a lot of abilities. So I'm using the sword and the accessories to get the 3 set. There is a jar helmet, and I'll get into that, but I still have yet to get one. It's probably the best in slot helmet, I'm assuming, and I think, at least the way that it's worded, it adds 1 to the set requirement for any set you have equipped. So if you were using the jar, you could change this weapon, or you could change this jewelry and just have a 2 set, and then the jar would finish your set. But that would completely change my build, so I'm not really going to talk about it much. I'm just going to talk about what you would want to use otherwise. So I have the Deep Shadow set here. This gives frontal assault stamina damage and frontal assault damage. This means if we're hitting an enemy from its front, we are doing more damage to its stamina gauge, so we're getting brutal attacks more often, we're staggering it more often, which is, you know, the kind of build that I want to do, and we're just doing more damage in general. So if you're hitting the thing from the front, it takes more damage and it gets stunned more. Then I'm using the Fallen Lord set on top of that. So I'm using Defector, Deep Shadow, Fallen Lord. Fallen Lord 2 set is a 10% increase to damage of charge attacks. Every attack that I'm doing is a charge attack unless it's Armor Breaker, which I am using quite often, but I'm using charge attacks like just as often, right? In terms of sets that are good, that I'm not using, that I want to try, we have, I'll get into the one that I have in my inventory first, Crimson Fiend. So this set is probably like honestly made for this kind of build because it affects Mortal Blow and it affects charge attacks. And it gives benefits when you're enraged. So enraged is when you are below 50% stamina. I'm assuming this means on the player. I don't actually know 100%, but I think it means if you are enraged, you do 15% more damage. So if your stamina bar is below half, you do 15% more damage. This is really good. It's just situational, which kinda sucks. However, it's like 2 charge attacks with my amount of stamina, which is quite a bit. And you're below half, so it's not like really hard to proc this. That's not even counting if you're like blocking and losing stamina that way. So yeah, and just by having a 3 set, you're potentially getting 25% extra damage, which is really good. So Crimson Fiend is definitely a set to look out for. There is the Dragon Scale, mainly just for the confront stamina damage. I wouldn't really look much into that one. What's next? You have Hound. This one's decent early game, right? You get it pretty early on, and you can get 5% damage from it, as well as stamina recovery. That could be good for the early game. Executioner for the stamina damage, 15%. It's not terrible. You have Guardian for 50 extra attack damage. That's pretty good. I was using it a little bit earlier on when my weapons were lower level. It just, like, this for some weapons is like 1/4 of the damage the weapon would have. You just get on top. Um, but a set that I'm really looking at, as well as like the Fiend one, is the Fugitive Mage. Just look at that. Charge attack damage, guard stamina damage decrease, and armor breaker stamina damage increase. Oh yeah, and brink guard gives you stamina damage. So this is just nutty. Your charge attacks do more damage. When you're guarding and you get hit, you don't lose as much stamina. Your armor breaker, which is those 2 slashes after like countering, do 15% more to their stamina bar. And when you brink guard, you get 10% stamina damage to the enemy. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, just the 5 set alone is amazing. The only reason I'm really not using it is because it looks ugly. It doesn't really fit like the vibe I want. Like, I don't really want to look like that. So I'm waiting to see if these kinds of bonuses are on a different set that I'll find later. And if not, I mean, I would still use it. It's just finding like the pieces that I want to use it, because like you can use like jewelry and weapons and stuff, right, which might not be as ugly. But yeah, Fugitive Mage is great. So that's the armor. I don't know of every single affix in the game, but I can recommend your weapon to look something like this. I would say this is pretty good, right? Attack damage, damage multiplier increase, damage increase. Your armor, I would really try to like focus on getting stamina, especially early game, like stamina and stamina recovery. I mean, mainly focus on getting the set that you want, whether the attributes are good or not. But once you're at the point where you can like roll your gear, once you get the blacksmith, and you can re-roll your gear, then yeah, I would try to get like stamina and stamina recovery, especially stamina recovery. Like I was but before I like had like the really really good stuff, and right now this isn't even really really good. But before I had the really good stuff, I was just spamming stamina recovery. Like if it had stamina recovery, I was using it. Like before I had sets, like, you know, stamina recovery is huge. It also means if you get exhausted, so like when your character gets like you're out of breath and you're just standing there and you're stuck in that state until you get your stamina back or you get hit, it significantly reduces that time if you have stamina recovery, because you'll get your stamina full and then you won't be, you know, stuck there anymore. So, but where I'm at in the game, I mainly care about obviously getting damage, stamina damage, defense, health, and I'm still somewhat getting stamina and stamina recovery just to like for it to feel okay. But anything that gives you like charge attack damage, damage in general, received damage decrease, damage multipliers, even swift attack damage is okay. These things are obviously really good. Stamina damage, yeah, is really good because you'll just stun the bosses more, stun the enemies more. And then you can see on my jewelry here. And for the ally that I've chose to be with Wolfric the Resilient. You deal 15% more damage to an enemy when you're hitting them from the front. You can see this is like pretty much what I have on my set. This is just more damage, so why would you not use it, in my opinion? I also like the look of Maximilian the Impenetrable. I think if I awaken him and I get the second one, I might actually swap, because that seems really good. After you perform 5 brink guards, you do 25% more stamina damage, which is a lot. That is a lot. You could like really wreck their stamina bar and get like stun them like constantly. Um, but as soon as you take damage or do a normal guard, you lose the buffs. That's the only downside. Um, Before I got Wolfric though, I was just using Keshta because stamina recovery. Honestly, I would just use this guy until you get Wolfric and then use Wolfric. That's how I see it. Unless by the time you get Wolfric you're still having stamina problems, then just stick with this guy. There's no problem with that. He makes stamina really nice. He's really convenient. And yeah, I was using him for a long time. It just occurred to me that I never um, showed my attributes, so I'm going to show my attributes. Mind you, these are subject to change. It kind of depends on the gear you're wearing, because actually I'll just get into it now. But I said it before that I have potential like replacements of gear that I might use, like different sets. And depending on the weight of your gear, you might not need as much strength, because strength is giving you more weight capacity, right? That's something I didn't touch on, but agility is pretty important, and not having an A tier agility really sucks. If your agility is not tier A, your stamina recovery is a lot worse. I believe you use more stamina and you recover it slower, at least on dodges. So like if I dodge, it uses more stamina than normal, and my stamina regens a lot slower, just no matter what I do. So if you're attacking a bunch and you get to like half stamina, it's going to take a lot longer to get back to full than if you were at A agility. So depending on the gear you're using, you're going to want more strength so that you can accommodate that weight and still have an A tier agility. So that's why my strength is as high as it is. But really, you just want vitality, strength, and proficiency, and then get as much endurance as you need to be comfortable enough to use everything that you want to use. So remember that abilities don't use stamina. However, I do not believe you can recover stamina while using them. So the more abilities you use, the less stamina you need, basically. The more often you can use your abilities, and therefore the less often you need to use charge attacks, the less stamina you need, because the charged attacks are what actually use your stamina. That and running around and dodging and blocking and stuff. So like the more often you can be offensive and be using your abilities, the less stamina you need. But I find that you need a decent amount. 20 for me with my amount of stamina recovery is pretty solid. It means I can do like 2 full rotations. So like I can hold left click and I can hold right click, and I can do that like twice before I run out of stamina, which is pretty decent. But I would obviously want more. But the main focus is vitality and strength, because the weapons mainly scale with strength, like more than proficiency, and vitality is just health, so you don't get cooked. A good rule of thumb is to just keep your vitality 3 to 4 levels higher than whatever your next highest stat is. And typically, I was keeping my strength about 3 to 4 higher than my proficiency. It's just really cooked now because I realized that to use the gear that I was using, I needed my weight to be a lot higher. So I farmed out ads to get my strength up like 15 times. And in that whole time, I wasn't leveling up anything else because I just wanted the weight, right? I would lose strength to get vitality and a bit more proficiency, and that would be pretty nice. There is an argument to be made about also going willpower, because willpower would give stamina recovery, and it would mean that when I guard, I don't lose as much stamina when I get hit. That is definitely valid. I just find if I just go endurance to just have more stamina and recover that stamina faster, I don't really need to take less stamina damage because I'm just getting my stamina back faster and I have more of it. But this is not really a wrong choice to make. It would just be better if our weapons also scaled with this stat, and they don't. So that's why I don't go any willpower. But yeah, it's pretty much number one priority. vitality. Number 2 priority strength. Number 3 priority proficiency. But you definitely want to weave in some endurance. I would say once you get to around 20 and your stamina recovery is around the 130s to 140s, you'll probably be feeling pretty okay. And then it's just up to preference of like, do you want more than that, or do you even think you could maybe have a little bit less? Like if you have less than that, are you like, does it feel fine? Then who cares? Personally, I could see myself going to like 30 endurance by the time my vitality, like before my vitality even gets to 60. I might stop my vitality around like 55, keep my strength where it is, get my proficiency to like 45, and then I might do endurance or something. You know what I mean? I might even get more, because endurance is more damage, because it means you can do more combos as long as you're able to expel that stamina in the amount of time you get free time to hit the boss. But yeah, vitality should be your highest stat. My stuff looks stupid because I realized that I hit a hard like cap. Like I was at a B tier agility and it was like really bad. You like your stamina gets like cucked. Like your stamina loses a lot of its value if your agility's on A. So I had to get my strength up to use the gear that I was using. But like the fugitive mage set, for example, if you go that route, that has a lot less weight. I think it's a lightweight armor set, so you wouldn't need a lot of strength to use that. So you wouldn't need to do what I did. But yeah, guys, that's the build. That's kind of what I've been rocking. I might post more videos on this game. I probably will post more videos on this game. When I was in the training lab, whatever that area is called, the practice area, I realized that I only have like 3 or 4 bosses left that are undiscovered to summon, and that's kind of sad because I don't want this game to almost be over, but it looks like it is. So if I do play and I do record, it'll be campaign, it'll be gameplay stuff of me, I guess, near the end of the game. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely subscribe. Leave a like if you like this video. I usually don't ask for this kind of stuff, but screw it. Might as well YouTube stuff, I suppose. But yeah, I do really hope that you enjoyed, and I recommend this game to anybody that likes Souls-like games. I think this is like a great experience, especially for me as somebody that's never experienced ARPG mechanics in a Souls-like game. Like I said, these games might exist, and I just don't know. But I haven't played one, so this is very fun to me, and I look forward to the new kinds of gear I find and get, and I look forward to when my character has new armor sets on, because I know that I won't be using these forever. Anyway, though, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.